Hey, what's up, everybody? We are Greg and Lisa.
Hey guys, today's video, History Summarized Ireland.
Yes, and today's video is brought to you by Overly Sarcastic Productions. We'll include a link in the description so you can go on over there and do all the YouTube stuff.
Okay.
Now, we did a video from there before.
Yeah, we did History Summarized Scotland.
Yes, and you know, we had some people who really enjoyed it because it was an introduction. We know it's not obviously the complete history. It's only 12 minutes.
Yeah, you can't do it in 12 minutes.
Yeah, but you know, it's just something that we want to continue working our way through the UK.
Right.
So that's
well, actually, Ireland is not part of the United Kingdom.
Oh yeah. Oops.
So that's what's interesting about this.
So I just lied.
Yeah. Well, they did this little thing. Not you just lied. Yeah. But I'm just saying, what he did was like a history summarized for Ireland, Scotland, and I think Wales.
The history of
Whoa, sorry.
That's okay. And I think Wales. So I got to look at his channel to see if he did anything else.
Yeah.
But interestingly, we'll see if this includes Northern Ireland.
Yeah. All right.
We'll see.
Before we get going here, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Help us reach 50,000. That would be amazing. 50,000 bazillion? Is that what you said?
Subscribers.
Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
All right.
Ireland seems like the tale of one island getting beat up for over 1,000 years straight. And, well, that's not incorrect, I'll be honest with you.
Oh.
But from another perspective, it's a story of a unique civilization rising from the intersection of two very different worlds, and then remarkably enduring through centuries of subjugation and hardship. When it's all too common to see entire cultures wiped from existence because of colonial oppression, Ireland is a very hard-fought counterexample. To see what makes Ireland's history so special and to learn how Irish cultures survived to the present day, let's do some history.
This
Video is brought to you by Audible. More on that later. Our story begins with the migration of the Celts from Central Europe sometime in the 5th to 3rd-ish centuries BC. Okay, look, it's an ancient migration, all right? Dates are going to be finicky on this one. And they settled on this little island here, which they named Ada after the goddess Eru, which I maybe said right. I don't know. I'm just going to try and say as few Irish names as possible so I don't embarrass myself, which is where we get the name Ireland. And speaking of language, they spoke an early...
Wait, hold on. What do you say?
Interesting.
This is interesting. Let's see.
Which is where we... I don't know. I'm just going to try and say as few Irish names as possible so I don't embarrass myself. Which is where we get the name Ireland. And speaking of language, they spoke an early version of Irish, which is a subset of the Gaelic language family, which is a subset of the Celtic language family. Not confusing at all. Though Ireland didn't have a written literary tradition, the culture venerated storytelling bards, as well as druids, who are priest-like figures that doubled as historians, judges, and even doctors. Another popular profession in Ireland was, surprisingly enough, king, because there was no overarching central authority, so Ireland usually had somewhere around 150 local tuatha that each had their own king. And there were no cities at this point either, so people just clustered into groups on available farmland and got to it. Though Ireland wasn't politically unified, they shared many elements of art and religion, from Celtic knots to Cuchulainn. Irish mythology is rad, and you can see some examples here, but there are also all manner of gods, heroes, and some pretty bonkers magic too. Sadly, we don't have as much information on them as we might like because the Irish mythological cycle wasn't codified until centuries later, and parts of it have since been lost. Plus, the stories themselves sometimes conflict with one another on account of how regional these oral traditions were. Though we today only know so much about early Celtic Ireland, the picture gets clearer and the culture gets richer with Ireland's second big arrival, Christianity. Ireland actually got the good end of the deal on this one, because their conversion was peaceful and it didn't involve them getting invaded by Rome. Win-win, and quite the opposite in fact, as Irish pirates often found their way to the western coast of Rome and Britain. In one instance, a captured young Roman lived in Ireland for 6 years before escaping back to Britain, and after some soul-searching he trained in France to become a priest and set back out to Ireland in the hopes of converting the people to Christianity. Though he wasn't the first missionary to Ireland, this Saint Patrick, as you've probably guessed, was certainly the most consequential. The dates for his life and career are all over the place, and there's even a theory that Saint Patrick is actually an amalgamation of two different characters, but this show is history summarized and I am super not qualified to settle.
Hold on, I want to see that. The two Patricks theory. Okay.
Patrick and another figure named Palladius.
Of two different characters, but this show is history summarized, and I am super not qualified to settle very much ongoing debates in the academic historical community. But what we can say for certain is that he never drove the snakes out of Ireland, because Ireland never had snakes. That's just a very polite code word for pagans. And even that isn't fully accurate. Patrick, buddy, you're killing me here. Because Celtic culture didn't just go away. It's a classic example of syncretism, where the goal is to make two disparate cultures coexist rather than have one completely supplant the other. Latin was introduced, but it was spoken right alongside Irish Gaelic. Monasteries were built all around the island, but they were regionally autonomous. Jesus was the new number one, but the old Irish mythology remained firmly in the popular conscience. Best of both worlds. And the timing of all this couldn't have been better, because while mainland Europe was splintering out into dozens of Gothic kingdoms in the wake of the Western Roman Empire's collapse, Ireland just got a jolt of new culture to play with and about 400 years of complete peace to refine it. The strongest literary tradition in Europe was made in Irish monasteries.
I mean, so what I'm hearing is that they're just, instead of pushing out one and making one thing dominant, whether it be religion or this or that, they just kind of blended it all together and like allowed everyone to do what they want, and everything lived cohesively.
Yeah, I think that's true. Even with the reason that they had so many, I don't know if they call them cities, kings, 100, 150 different kings.
Because they weren't battling over it. Like there didn't have to be one superior anything.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
Often called scriptoria, where accounts of old Irish mythology were written alongside beautifully decorated manuscripts of the Bible. All around, Ireland was known as the Isle of Saints and Scholars, and it's because of their hard work that so much ancient Latin work survives today. Irish missionaries to Europe even laid the groundwork for Charlemagne's 9th century Renaissance in France. It's also during this golden age that we see and hear two core symbols of Irish culture, the Celtic cross and the harp. The cross appears in stone all over Ireland, and it's a perfect visual metaphor for how Celtic Irish culture is literally woven into Irish Christianity. Again, all this while the rest of Europe was having some serious, let's call it growing pains. Although Ireland was decentralized in both government and religion, it enjoyed over 4 centuries of peace between the numerous Tuatha and no threat of invasion. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and all shiny things must get raided by Vikings. And speaking of Vikings, Vikings! Though Ireland didn't quite get hit as bad as the English and Scots one island over, Ireland saw its fair share of coastal looting and burning. Monasteries were an easy target because of their abundance of treasures like gemstone-covered manuscripts and their non-abundance of defensive fortifications. The Vikings did, however, contribute Ireland's first cities of Dublin, Cork, Waterford, and others settled along the island's coasts. And as the Vikings got comfortable in their cities and chilled out enough to stop with the damn raiding all the time, their cities became hubs for trade and production. Ultimately, though, Ireland's much bigger problem for the next 1,000 years would come from right across the channel. And oh golly gosh, would you look at the clock, it's time to complain about England. Woo! Sorry, professionalism. So while Ireland was having a good time minding its own business and not bothering anyone else, the Anglo-Normans came over to establish the Lordship of Ireland, which sounds a lot more, complete than it actually was. England held on to the urban population centers in the east, but because of stuff like wars and plague, it was pretty patchy for the next 5 centuries. But in 1509,
it's amazing. It's just like 5 centuries, 4 centuries.
I know.
Like, you know.
Yeah, our passing on this thing. Yeah.
Henry VIII became king and decided that he wanted to be a really big deal. So it's here that things start getting rough. See, Henry converted to Protestantism after he got tired of killing his wives and wanted to just divorce them instead, but Ireland remained firmly Catholic. This displeased Henry, so he made a new push to colonize Ireland, and England made steady progress in beating up on the Irish, taking more and more of their land, and busting down.
Wait. It displeased them that they were Catholic? Well, wonder what he wanted them to be.
I'm not sure.
Catholicism? I came here to murder my wives and trash Catholicism.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just he didn't believe in Catholicism.
Ireland remained firmly Catholic. This displeased Henry, so he made a new push to colonize Ireland, and England made steady progress in beating up on the Irish, taking more and more of their land, and busting down their monasteries and churches. Unsurprisingly, the Irish rebelled. Several times. In the decade after the union of the English and Scottish crowns in 1603, King James confiscated Irish land in the northern region of Ulster to make way for Scottish colonists to start private plantations. And this marks the start of a couple unfortunate defining trends for the next 3 centuries. First is the treatment of Ireland as a subservient colony and the steady seizure of Irish land, and also the persecution of Catholicism through strict social laws. In the 17th and 18th centuries, Irish farmers became tenants in their own island, and this process only accelerated with the advent of anti-royalist
tenants in their own island. So it's like it was their island, but they didn't own anything.
Right. So it says green is majority Catholic.
Yeah.
Irish.
Gray is
middle 50%. Orange is majority Protestant or British.
Okay.
So maybe that's what he was trying to convert him to?
Maybe.
Protestant?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, they were.
And which is mostly Northern Ireland. So that maybe this is the beginning of them conquering Northern Ireland.
In Civil War extraordinaire Oliver Cromwell, who murdered his way across Ireland during his War of the Three Kingdoms. More land was confiscated, Catholic Irish were forcibly evicted and also banned from certain jobs, and for the next 300 years, Ireland was regarded as little more than a conquered colony. Although the anti-Catholic laws were largely repealed by the turn of the 19th century, Ireland was still poorer going into the 1800s than it had arguably ever been, as its production and wealth were systematically siphoned off to Britain. Only the majority British pockets of the island in Dublin and Ulster saw much improvement, and it was these Ulster Irish who spoke for Ireland in the new United Kingdom's Parliament. If this all sounds short-sighted, exploitative, and extremely fragile, you'd be correct. But wait, it only gets worse. See, Ireland's agriculture was, well, dangerously precarious. Most of their food production was beef exports to Britain, and that didn't leave a whole lot of available farmland on Ireland for feeding the Irish. So the tenant farmers turned to potatoes, which had by far the most nutritional value for the space they took to grow. Not super great that the systematic exploitation of their land forced Catholic Irish to subsist entirely on a single food staple for generations, but at least they're not starving. So anyway, in 1846, the potato blight hit Ireland and all of the crops failed, so people started starving.
What?
Cool. The thing is, potato crops were going rotten all across America and Europe. Ireland was just the only place where potatoes were the only option. But with the crisis at hand, Parliament acted swiftly to provide rations and relief to... No, I'm just kidding. Parliamentarians in London insisted that the reports of famine were completely overblown and refused to divert resources for aid. Help did slowly arrive, but it was predicated on putting Ireland through economic reforms to modernize their infrastructure. Yeah, because that's exactly what Ireland was asking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I know you want food, but before we could do that, you got to modernize your infrastructure.
Yeah.
For not food. God, no. Laissez-faire mercantilism. Way to read the room, guys. Eventually, the blight passed and things slowly returned to normal, but not before 1 in 7 people died of starvation and 1 in 4 fled to places like America. This would be why New York and Boston have big Irish communities that materialize out of nowhere in the late 1840s. The more you know. And real quick before we move on to the 1900s, it's not a coincidence that the areas least affected by the famine were the Protestant parts. And if that wasn't bad enough, Britain was also busy shutting down the last remaining hedge schools that taught Greek and Latin to Catholic kids. Before this, Ireland's Catholicism had produced the longest continuous tradition of Greek and Latin anywhere on Earth. But God forbid kids who aren't Anglican be allowed to learn. Gross. So, what to do from here? Well, if you're the population of Ireland in the early 1900s, the answer was literally anything else, and that echoed in a call for home rule and their own independent government. However, Ulster was still fiercely unionist, and it almost looked like pro-union and pro-home rule paramilitary groups were going to start fighting about it when World War I suddenly became a much more pressing issue. But on Easter of 1916, Irish insurgents occupied government buildings in Dublin, so the British Army shelled them into surrender and then executed the rebel leaders. This, you may guess, did not sit super great with the Irish public, so as soon as the World War was over, Ireland fought a guerrilla war of independence, and in 1922 it was granted home rule as their own free state under the British Crown. And in the late 30s and 40s, Ireland transitioned into a fully independent republic. Ulster, however, opted to stay in the UK and became known as Northern Ireland. The split between North and South came to a head in the latter part of the century, as Northern Ireland...
Did you understand that?
Yeah, but I didn't realize it was so recent. I don't know what, in my mind, I thought it was a long time ago.
I don't know, but that makes sense. Civil Rights March. Oh, look, they have bagpipes.
Irish Catholics still faced heavy discrimination. North and South came to a head in the latter part of the century, as Northern Irish Catholics still faced heavy discrimination, and their peaceful protests met violent opposition. And this erupted into the Troubles, 3 decades of insurgency, terrorism, and police brutality in Northern Ireland, as IRA irregulars fought against Ulster volunteer forces and British police to end British rule in Northern Ireland. After some 3,500 casualties, most of them civilian, the Good Friday Agreement of 1998 mandated that Northern Ireland could vote to unify unify with the Republic at any time they liked, and that there would never again be a hard border on the island between North and South. Oh, dear God, not again.
Wow.
What was that? The Brexit?
Yeah.
Something.
So they have the right to, they can vote for it at any time, but it doesn't sound like they do.
Uh-huh.
That's why they stay Northern Ireland, maybe?
Oh.
On the island between North and South. Oh, dear God, not again. Criminy, even when Irish history lets up, it doesn't let up. Meanwhile, the Republic of Ireland enacted a series of economic and political reforms to lift the country out of hundreds of years of poverty. And today the people of Ireland are safer, richer, better fed, and freer to express their religion than they've been in centuries. It's distressing to see Ireland so cruelly oppressed for so long, but it's inspiring to see the past century's reclamation of Irish culture and their long-deserved independence. In Ireland, history is never far away. The legacy of their centuries-long golden age is everywhere from the Celtic cross to the Irish language, and the painful memory of the Great Famine has motivated Ireland to become a world's leader in international food aid, and I will gladly raise a pint to that. Thank you so much for watching. It's rare that I get to do a full 2,000 years in one video, but it's fun to take a really
2,000 years
All right.
in one video in 12 minutes.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I didn't know about Ireland and how they became.
Yeah, and I know that there's a feud between England and Ireland and Northern Ireland. I don't know if they all, maybe even Scotland, if they're all like super friendly and super friends. But I could see why now, because it's relatively recent history.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I don't know, I thought it was like, I don't know,
hundreds of years ago.
In the year 1100. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize it was all just
it all kind of started back then, but let's take a look and see what the people got to say here. Fun fact. Oh, this is a long one. Should I do it?
Sure.
Okay. One of the groups to come to Ireland's aid during the potato famine was the Native American Choctaw Nation. Fresh off their own atrocity of the Trail of Tears, the Choctaw sent food aid and advisors to Ireland to help feed a fellow oppressed people and develop more sustainable farming methods so that such a calamity might not happen again. The Choctaw Embassy was even established in Dublin, and today there is a monument to the Choctaw and the help they gave to the Irish.
So the Trail of Tears was in the United States.
Right.
So that's, the Native American.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Wow.
They were overcoming their own atrocity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they still
is
went
a fun
over to help
fact.
them. Alrighty, and this one here says, my favorite Irish joke.
Uh-oh.
Hey stranger, before we become friends, I need to know, are you Catholic or Protestant? I'm an atheist, actually. Okay, but are you Catholic, atheist, or or Protestant atheist? That is hilarious. All right. Not so fun fact. The population of Ireland is still lower than it was before the Great Famine. That's how devastating it was. Wow.
Oh my God.
Man, that's crazy.
They survived on potatoes and then that was it. And them migrating to the United States.
Yeah.
That's interesting fun fact too.
Yeah, well, they had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that was a super interesting video. Drop some comments on your thoughts and any explanations you have for some of the questions we asked. That'd be awesome. We do have another channel, Greg and Lisa React Germany, where we react to German videos. Link will be in the description. Head on over there for that. We want to give a special shout out to our members. We have a lot of them and they are having a great time, and we provide some information. We give them what's called coffee and comments, where we just have a conversation between ourselves, and they find that pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then also
always respond to their comments.
That's right.
So if you want to, because sometimes we get a lot of comments because we post a lot of videos, and sometimes if you're commenting a few days later, it's hard for us to see those. So if you want to really if you want us to see your comments, members always get answered because they show up in a separate spot for us. So I don't know if you guys knew that, but they show up somewhere special.
Makes it easier for us.
So it makes us easier to spot them.
Yeah.
And then we have a Patreon, and over there we do a lot of. What we're trying to do is put all the videos that are coming in here over there early. Right. So we're like about a week out on some of them. We're trying to get to 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Right.
And then Father Ted is over there. It doesn't look like it's gonna have a home in the YouTube channel. So it has a home over there.
And other things that, because YouTube has some rules.
Yeah.
They don't let us put everything on here. So we can put a lot of things over there on Patreon. So
yeah.
All right. Well, like the video. That really does help a lot. As always, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next video.
Bye.
Peace.